Right now, somewhere in America, a 72-year-old woman is reaching for a coffee cup on the counter. Her hand will miss by 2 inches. She won't understand why. 3 blocks away, a 75-year-old man is standing up from his chair. He'll feel dizzy for a moment, grab the armrest, wait for it to pass. He's been doing this for months. He thinks it's normal. Across town, a 70-year-old is walking to the mailbox, the same route she's walked for 20 years. Today, her foot will catch on nothing and she'll fall. She won't know what hit her. This isn't a story about individual failures. This is a story about universal biology, about what happens to every human body after 70, regardless of how well someone lived their life. These aren't isolated incidents. These are symptoms of 5 specific biological changes that affect everyone who reaches this age. Changes that medical science understands completely. Changes that can be measured, predicted, and most importantly, countered. Consider Frank, a 73-year-old retired postal worker. He walked 4 miles every single day, ate well, didn't smoke, barely drank. Picture of health, everyone said. Then over the course of 8 months, everything changed. First, he started feeling unsteady on his feet. Then he began holding onto furniture when he walked through his house. Then came the day he couldn't lift his groceries from the car to the counter. His daughter had to move in. 6 months after that, he needed help getting dressed. Frank's doctor told him it was just aging, just getting older, just what happens. But that's not the full truth. What happened to Frank wasn't random. It wasn't inevitable decline. It was the result of 5 specific physiological changes that every person over 70 experiences. Changes that start silently, progress predictably, and if left unaddressed, steal independence piece by piece until there's nothing left to take. The first change happens in a place most people never think about. Deep inside the ear, in 3 tiny fluid-filled canals smaller than a grain of rice, sits the vestibular system. This is the body's internal gyroscope, the mechanism that tells the brain which way is up, whether the body is tilting, how fast it's moving. At 70, this system begins to fail. The fluid in those canals thickens. The sensors lining the walls weaken. The signals they send to the brain become confused, contradictory, unreliable. The brain receives mixed messages about where the body is in space. The result? Balance problems that seem to come from nowhere. Margaret was 71 when she first noticed something was off. Not dramatically wrong, just slightly different. She felt a little dizzy when she turned her head quickly, a little unsteady when she got out of bed in the morning. When her doctor tested her balance, asking her to stand on one foot with her eyes closed, she lasted 2 seconds. 10 years earlier, she could do 30 seconds without thinking about it. Here's what makes this so dangerous. Walking feels normal. Regular walking on flat ground doesn't reveal the problem because it doesn't challenge the balance system enough. So people don't notice the deterioration until it's severe. They don't realize their internal gyroscope is failing until they try to step over something or turn around quickly or walk on uneven ground, and suddenly they're falling. A Johns Hopkins study tracked seniors who failed these balance tests. Those who couldn't maintain single-leg balance with eyes closed experienced 5 times more falls within the following 2 years compared to those who passed. 5 times, that's not a small difference. That's the difference between independence and injury. But here's what the medical community has known for decades and rarely emphasizes loudly enough. The balance system can be retrained. The brain can relearn how to interpret signals from a degrading vestibular system. Simple daily exercises practiced consistently can rebuild what age is tearing down. Standing on one foot while brushing teeth, starting with 10 seconds building to 30, this single exercise performed twice daily forces the brain to recalibrate its balance algorithms. Margaret did exactly this. After 6 weeks, she could stand on one foot for 25 seconds. The dizziness decreased. Her confidence returned. The second change involves speed. Not walking speed, though that declines too. This is about reaction time, the split second between recognizing danger and responding to it. At age 30, the average reaction time is around 7/10 of a second. At 70, it's doubled to 1.4 seconds. That might not sound significant until examining what it means in practice. James was 72, cautious driver, no accidents in 40 years. One afternoon, a child ran into the street chasing a ball. James saw the child instantly. His brain registered the danger immediately. But his foot took a full second to move from the accelerator to the brake. 1 full second. He stopped 6 inches from the child. 6 inches that could have been the difference between near miss and tragedy. Stanford researchers measured nerve signal speed in aging adults. Between age 50 and 70, nerve signals slow by 30%. The electrical impulses that carry messages from brain to muscle physically travel slower. The myelin sheath coating nerves degrades like insulation wearing off electrical wires. Signals leak, scatter, arrive delayed. This isn't about mental sharpness. This is pure biology. The nervous system itself is aging and reaction time suffers as a result. But again, and this is critical, reaction time can be improved through training. The brain can learn to process information faster to prepare responses more quickly to compensate for slower nerve signals. James began simple drills, having someone toss him a ball unexpectedly while he watched television, playing reaction-based games on his phone. Nothing complex, nothing expensive, just consistent practice forcing his brain to speed up its processing. After 3 months, his reaction time improved from 1.4 seconds to 1.1, still slower than a young adult but substantially better than before, fast enough to matter in real-world emergencies. The third change is sarcopenia, the gradual, relentless loss of muscle mass that begins around age 50 and accelerates dramatically between 70 and 75. After 50, muscle mass declines approximately 1% per year. That rate doubles between 70 and 75. By age 70, the average person has lost 20% of their muscle mass. By 80, it's 30%. Maria was 68 when she first noticed her grip weakening. Opening jars became difficult. Carrying groceries required 2 trips instead of 1. Getting up from a low chair meant pushing with both hands instead of just standing. These weren't dramatic changes. They crept in slowly, each one barely noticeable until they accumulated into genuine disability. Researchers at Tufts University measured strength decline across age groups. At 65, participants averaged lifting 40 pounds in standard strength tests. At 75, that dropped to 28 pounds, a 30% decrease. By 85, it was 18 pounds, a 55% drop from age 65. This matters because muscle strength determines independence. Standing from a chair requires leg strength. Carrying groceries requires arm strength. Climbing stairs requires both. When that strength disappears, independence follows. The strongest predictor of nursing home placement isn't cognitive decline or chronic disease, it's the inability to perform basic physical tasks due to muscle weakness. But muscle responds to stress at any age. This is one of the most hopeful findings in gerontology research. Even in the late 70s, muscle tissue will grow when challenged appropriately. McMaster University conducted studies with seniors averaging 78 years old. After 12 weeks of resistance training with bands and light weights, participants gained between 4 and 7 pounds of muscle mass. Meanwhile, the control group, remaining sedentary, lost muscle during the same period. 15 minutes daily of resistance work, not grueling workouts, not gym memberships, simple exercises with resistance bands targeting major muscle groups. This intervention alone can reverse years of decline. The fourth change is invisible until catastrophic. Bone density loss, the gradual transformation of solid bone into something porous and fragile. Osteoporosis doesn't announce itself with pain or symptoms. It simply makes bones weak enough to break under normal body weight during a fall. Dorothy was 73, walking to her car on an icy morning. She slipped, fell, broke her hip. In the emergency room, the orthopedic surgeon showed her the x-rays. The bone didn't break because she fell, he explained. She fell because the bone broke. The impact of stepping down on ice was enough to fracture her weakened femur, then she went down. National Osteoporosis Foundation data shows 1 in 2 women over 50 will suffer a bone fracture. 1 in 4 men. Hip fractures carry devastating consequences. 40% of hip fracture patients never walk independently again. 20% die within 1 year from complications like pneumonia, blood clots, infections. The cruelty of osteoporosis is its silence. Bones don't hurt as they weaken. There's no warning system, no pain signal indicating dangerous fragility. People only discover their bones have become breakable when they actually break. Weight-bearing impact exercise stimulates bone formation in ways that walking alone cannot. Jumping jacks, light jogging, even marching in place with enough force to create impact. This mechanical stress signals bones to reinforce themselves, to lay down new mineral deposits to maintain density. Calcium and vitamin D supplementation is essential. Most seniors are deficient in both. Vitamin D deficiency is epidemic among older adults who spend less time outdoors and whose skin produces less vitamin D from sunlight. Without adequate vitamin D, calcium cannot be absorbed properly and bone maintenance becomes impossible. Dorothy committed to a bone strengthening program, impact exercises 3 times weekly, calcium and vitamin D daily. 1 year later, her bone density scan showed significant improvement, not back to her 20s but substantially stronger than the day she fractured her hip. The fifth change is proprioception loss. This is the brain's map of where body parts are in space without looking. Touch a finger to the nose with eyes closed, that's proprioception. The brain knows where the finger is and where the nose is without visual confirmation. After 70, this internal map degrades. The sensors in joints and muscles that feed position information to the brain become less sensitive. The brain's ability to process these signals declines. The result is a body moving through space with incomplete information about its own position. Robert was 76, walking up his front steps, the same steps he'd climbed for 30 years. His foot caught the edge of the top step and he nearly fell. He would have sworn he lifted his foot high enough. His brain told him he cleared the step, but the actual position of his foot was 2 inches lower than his brain believed. University of Michigan researchers tested proprioception in seniors using motion capture technology. When asked to step over obstacles, participants consistently overestimated how high they lifted their feet, often by as much as double the actual height. Their brains were working with outdated, inaccurate maps of where their legs actually were. This explains why so many seniors trip over nothing. Their brain thinks the foot cleared the ground by 3 inches. Actually, it cleared by 1 inch. A small bump, a rug edge, uneven pavement, and down they go. They had no idea they were walking that close to the ground. Proprioception exercises retrain this internal mapping system. Standing on one leg forces the brain to pay intense attention to joint position. Heel-to-toe walking requires precise foot placement. Reaching for objects with eyes closed activates proprioceptive feedback loops. These exercises literally redraw the brain's map of the body. Margaret, after 1 month of daily proprioception drills, reported feeling dramatically more aware of where her feet were. The shuffling gait she developed disappeared. She walked with confidence again, lifting her feet properly, placing them accurately. Now let's connect these changes to reaction time more specifically, because this is where multiple systems fail simultaneously. Reaction time doubling from 200 milliseconds in young adults to 400 milliseconds in seniors means the window for corrective action shrinks dramatically. When balance fails, when proprioception miscalculates, when a stumble begins, there's half the time to catch oneself. The myelin degradation on nerve fibers is measurable. Nerve conduction velocity studies show the physical slowing of electrical signals. It's like downgrading from fiber optic internet to dial-up. The information still gets through, but the lag becomes problematic. Reaction training works differently than balance training. It's about processing speed, decision speed, movement initiation speed. Simple drills like unexpected ball tosses force the brain to recognize stimulus and initiate response faster. Video games, particularly action games requiring quick responses, have shown measurable improvement in senior reaction times. University of California research demonstrated that 12 hours of action video game play over 1 month improved reaction times by 30% in seniors. 12 hours total, spread across weeks. The brain's processing speed increased measurably from this cognitive training. Thomas was 74, concerned about his slowing reflexes. He downloaded a simple reaction game on his phone and played for 10 minutes twice daily. 2 weeks later, he caught a falling glass that slipped from his hand while doing dishes. He surprised himself. His hand moved before he consciously decided to move it. The training had created faster neural pathways from stimulus to response. But there's another factor in falls that isn't purely physiological. Fear. The fear of falling paradoxically increases fall risk by creating rigid, tense movements that actually destabilize balance. Seniors who fear falling begin moving cautiously, shuffling, avoiding activities that might challenge their balance. This protective response backfires completely. British Medical Journal research found seniors with high fear of falling were 3 times more likely to actually fall compared to those without that fear. 3 times. The psychological component was as dangerous as the physical decline. Helen was 71, terrified of falling after watching her sister break a hip. She stopped going for walks. She shuffled around her house holding furniture. She avoided stairs whenever possible. Her balance grew worse from disuse, her muscles weakened from inactivity, her proprioception degraded from lack of challenge. The fear created exactly the outcome it was trying to prevent. Exposure therapy, gradual confidence building through structured practice, reverses this cycle. Starting with simple supported balance exercises and progressing to more challenging tasks rebuilds trust in the body's capabilities. Helen worked with a physical therapist for 6 weeks, slowly expanding what she was willing to attempt. By the end, she was walking normally again, climbing stairs confidently, moving freely instead of fearfully. Understanding these 7 interconnected factors, muscle loss, inner ear decline, medication effects that weren't detailed here but remain important, bone loss, proprioception degradation, slowed reaction time, and fear-based movement restriction, provides a complete picture of why seniors fall and what can be done about it. The solution isn't one intervention, it's a coordinated approach addressing multiple systems simultaneously: strength training for muscles, balance exercises for the vestibular system, impact exercise for bones, proprioception drills for body awareness, reaction training for processing speed, confidence building for psychological barriers. Each element reinforces the others. Here's the practical implementation. Pick 3 exercises daily: one for balance, one for proprioception, one for reaction or strength. Single leg stands while brushing teeth, heel to toe walking in the hallway, resistance band exercises before breakfast. These don't require hours, 15 minutes total integrated into existing routines. The timeline for improvement is measurable. 1 month shows noticeable changes in confidence and steadiness. 3 months brings visible improvements that family members comment on. 6 months can reverse years of decline. Frank, the postal worker who lost his independence, returned to the clinic 6 months after starting this program. He walked in unassisted. He stood from the chair without using his hands. He smiled. This isn't about preventing falls as an abstract goal. This is about maintaining the quality of life that makes aging worth experiencing. It's about keeping the ability to travel, to visit grandchildren, to live independently, to move through the world without fear or limitation. It's about recognizing that the body will change, but those changes don't have to dictate the story. The choice is simple. Adapt to what's happening inside the body, train the systems that are degrading, rebuild the capabilities that age is dismantling, or accept decline as inevitable and watch independence disappear month by month. One approach requires effort, the other guarantees loss. The body at 70 is capable of remarkable things when given the right stimulus. Muscles will grow, balance will improve, bones will strengthen, reactions will quicken, the brain will adapt, but none of this happens passively. None of this happens by hopping or wishing or assuming it'll be fine. Share this information with someone who needs to hear it. The 70-year-old parent who's starting to shuffle, the 75-year-old friend who mentions feeling unsteady, the spouse who's becoming afraid to go outside alone. This isn't just health advice. This is the difference between independence and dependence, between living fully and merely existing safely, between 70 being the beginning of decline or the start of informed, proactive, powerful aging. Subscribe if this perspective on aging resonates. Leave a comment describing one change being implemented today, one exercise, one commitment, one decision to work with the body instead of against it. And most critically, start now. Not tomorrow, not next week. Right now, while there's still time to build strength instead of just trying to maintain what's left. The body is changing. The question is whether adaptation will match that change or lag behind it until it's too late.